The girl in the diaper. The early morning mist blanketed the quiet streets of Sycamore Hills, a small, overlooked town where nothing ever happened. Until today. Officer Marcus Bell, a 38-year-old patrol officer with tired eyes and a haunted soul, sipped lukewarm gas station coffee from a cracked styrofoam cup. His squad car crept down the empty lane like a ghost ship in the fog, headlights piercing the silence, his fingers twitching slightly over the steering wheel. His badge felt heavier than usual, like a weight pressed down by years of invisible wounds. He wasn't just tired from the overnight shift. He was tired from life. His marriage had ended last fall. His son, gone before his first birthday. And every time he clocked in, the only thing that kept him moving was muscle memory and the strange, stubborn hope that maybe, just maybe, this day would be different. Then he saw her. Out of the corner of his eye, in the misty gray of dawn, a figure moved. Small, barefoot, alone. He hit the brakes. There, walking silently down the cracked sidewalk, was a little black girl, no older than 4. Her oversized shirt hung to her knees like a nightgown. Her diaper sagged beneath it, soaked and stained. Her bare feet slapped the cold pavement, one after the other. Her hair was wild and uncombed. In her small arms, she clutched a one-eyed stuffed bunny like it was a lifeline. Marcus squinted. At first, he thought maybe she'd wandered out of a nearby house, some kid sneaking out while their parents slept. But when he slowly pulled ahead, she followed. One step behind his car, then another, and she didn't stop. His heart ticked faster. He eased the car to the curb, put it in park, and stepped out slowly. The girl froze, her big brown eyes locking on his. Not scared, not playful, just watching. "Hey there," Marcus said gently, crouching to her level, his voice more father than officer now. "Are you okay? Where's your mom?" She didn't answer, just blinked. He took a careful step forward. Her tiny feet shuffled back. The bunny trembled slightly in her grasp. "It's okay," he whispered, hands raised, palms open. "I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm a police officer. I help people." For a second, she didn't move. Then, with mechanical slowness, like she'd practiced this moment 1,000 times, she reached into the deep pocket of her shirt and pulled out 3 broken crayons, red, green, and yellow. She held them out like sacred treasures. And then, for the first time, she spoke. In a whisper so soft the morning breeze almost stole it away, she said, "My mommy won't wake up." Marcus felt his heart stop. His brain clicked into training mode, child welfare, emergency protocol. But his soul, that broke wide open. "Where is she?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm as his fingers reached for the radio on his shoulder. The girl pointed. "Up there. Brown door. Apartment 2. He didn't ask any more questions. He didn't call backup. He didn't wait. He scooped her up. She didn't resist, and ran. Marcus took the metal stairs 2 at a time, the girl's thin frame shaking in his arms. The apartment complex was run down, its paint peeling like old wallpaper, rust creeping up the railings. The air smelled like mildew and something sharp underneath. At the door marked 2B, he paused. The door was slightly ajar. That's never a good sign. He pushed it open slowly. "Police," he called out. No answer. Inside, the apartment was dark and still. A cheap oscillating fan turned aimlessly in the corner. A single plate with a half-eaten sandwich sat on the table, a child's sippy cup on the floor, a tower of unpaid bills scattered near the kitchen counter. And then he saw her. On the carpet, lying still, a young woman, late 20s, maybe early 30s, curled on her side, one hand outstretched, barely touching an empty pill bottle. Marcus rushed over, felt her neck. Pulse. Faint, but still there. "Dispatch, this is Officer Bell," he barked into his radio. "Medical emergency. Possible overdose. Adult female unconscious, toddler present. Send EMS immediately. He lifted the woman's limp hand and looked around. No signs of violence. No blood. Just neglect, exhaustion, and pain. The little girl stood silently at the door, hugging her bunny, her eyes wide. She wouldn't wake up, she repeated, softer now. I tried real hard. Marcus's voice caught in his throat. You did good, sweetheart, he said, brushing a curl from her forehead. You did real good. As the sirens wailed in the distance, Marcus knelt beside the unconscious woman and her daughter, one hand pressed to the woman's wrist, the other gently holding the girl's tiny fingers. He didn't know their names yet, but in that moment he made a promise. Whatever this was, he wasn't walking away. The paper bunny. What's her name? The nurse's voice was calm, but even she couldn't hide the concern behind her clipped professionalism. Officer Marcus Bell shifted in the stiff plastic chair, glancing down at the tiny girl curled up beside him in the ER waiting room. Her head rested on his thigh, her fingers still gripping her threadbare bunny. She hadn't spoken in over an hour, not since the EMTs wheeled her mother, unconscious and pale, behind the double doors. I don't know, Marcus admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. She never said. The nurse frowned. No ID on the mother. Marcus pulled a thin wallet from his pocket. Only this. Found it under the coffee table. He handed it over. The woman scanned the name. Danielle Rivers, age 29. No emergency contacts. No wedding ring on her finger. No photos in the wallet. No family scribbles. No baby pictures tucked in behind credit cards. Just a faded receipt for baby formula, dated 2 weeks ago, and a Metro card that had expired last month. The nurse gave a small sigh and scribbled something down on her clipboard. We'll get social services involved. They'll handle the child once we stabilize the mother. Marcus didn't respond. His eyes wandered to the little girl again. Her name might have been a mystery, but something about her already felt familiar, like an echo from a memory he couldn't quite place. A stranger's bond. An hour passed. Then 2. The girl never moved. Occasionally, her thumb would drift to her mouth and hover there, like she remembered that she used to suck it for comfort, but had long since learned not to. The vending machine hummed in the corner, and Marcus rose slowly, joints aching from the long day. He returned with a bottle of apple juice and a pack of crackers. She looked up at him as he approached, eyes glassy but dry. The kind of dry that comes when a child runs out of tears. You hungry, sweetheart? He asked softly, kneeling again. She didn't answer, but she reached out for the juice with both hands, cradling it like a treasure. What's your name? He tried again. She stared at the label on the bottle. Her lips moved, whispered, Asha. The name felt like a whisper across glass. Fragile, sharp. That's a beautiful name, he said. Her eyes lifted to his. Yours. Marcus. Officer Bell. But you can call me Marcus. There was silence. Then a small, barely there nod. Her lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile, but wasn't quite nothing either. Social services arrive. At 4:43 p.m., Carla Monroe from Child Welfare Services arrived with a manila folder and a tight bun. Her voice was smooth but worn down by years of similar cases. Thank you for staying, Officer Bell, she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. We'll take it from here. Marcus stood slowly. She doesn't have anyone else, does she? Carla glanced down at the folder. Not that we can see. The mother's records list her as a single parent. The address she gave is a temporary shelter. Marcus's jaw tightened. So, what happens now? Carla sighed. If the mother stabilizes, we'll hold her until she's evaluated. Detox, counseling maybe. If not, Asha becomes a ward of the state. We place her in emergency care for now. Foster system. Asha, who'd been silent until now, spoke up suddenly. I want to stay with him. Her voice was small, quiet, but firm. Marcus froze. Carla blinked, caught off guard. Honey, that's sweet of you, but... I followed him. Asha continued, turning to Carla now. All morning. I didn't follow no one else. Marcus swallowed hard. She did. I found her on the street. She didn't say anything at first, but she wouldn't stop walking after my car. Carla looked between them, her face shifting, professionalism flickering beneath a crack of understanding. Officer Bell, have you ever been involved in emergency foster care before? He hesitated. I've been trained. Years ago, during community outreach rotations. Her eyes narrowed. Do you have any experience with children? Marcus's face darkened for just a moment. I had a son. The room went quiet. No one pushed for more. Asha's paper bunny. It was well after sunset when Marcus finally left the hospital. Asha held his hand the whole way out, clutching her bunny with the other. Carla followed behind them, phone pressed to her ear, muttering about paperwork and temporary placements. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. You want a ride? Marcus asked her. She nodded. He opened the passenger door of his patrol SUV, helped her up, and buckled her in. Her feet dangled, not even close to reaching the floor. She didn't let go of his hand until the seatbelt clicked. Back at his small two-bedroom home, Marcus stood awkwardly in the doorway while Asha wandered in. She examined everything with the quiet, observant patience of a child who'd moved too many times before. She didn't ask for a toy. She didn't ask where her room was. She walked into the living room, climbed onto the couch, pulled a folded sheet of paper from her bunny's pocket, and began to draw. No crayons, no markers, just the stub of a pencil she'd apparently kept hidden. What are you making? Marcus asked as he brought over a small plate of spaghetti. A new bunny, she said softly, focused, in case mine gets lost again. Marcus stared at her. The outline was rough, but the details were careful. 2 ears, 1 eye missing, a big heart on its belly. She folded the paper, tucked it under the real bunny's arm, and whispered, now he has a twin. He's not alone anymore. Night terrors and forgotten names. At 2:17 a.m., Marcus woke to the sound of screaming. He bolted out of bed, adrenaline firing before his mind could catch up. In the guest room, Asha thrashed in her blankets. Her eyes were squeezed shut, tears streamed down her face. No, don't believe me. Mommy, wake up, wake up. Marcus rushed to her side, kneeling beside the bed. Asha, it's okay. Baby girl, wake up. It's me, Marcus. You're safe. Her eyes snapped open, wild and panicked. She gasped, then threw her arms around his neck, trembling. I thought you were gone too, she sobbed. Marcus held her tight. I'm here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, okay? She didn't respond, just buried her face in his shoulder. They stayed like that until the morning sun began to creep through the blinds, painting the room gold. The drawing that changed everything. Later that morning, after a quiet breakfast of toast and fruit snacks, Marcus returned to the living room and found Asha kneeling on the floor again, drawing. He sat beside her quietly, watching. When she was done, she held the paper out to him. It showed 3 figures: a little girl with brown skin, a woman in a hospital bed, and a man in blue, standing between them with arms wide open. Above them, a heart floated in the sky. Written in blocky, uneven letters. My safe man. Marcus stared at the drawing for a long time, then carefully folded it, and slipped it inside his badge wallet. Right behind his son's photo. Closing scene, cliffhanger. That night, as Marcus tucked Asha into bed, she grabbed his hand again. Will you still be here tomorrow? He nodded. I will. Even if my mommy doesn't wake up. His throat tightened. He couldn't lie. I'll still be here. Asha curled up with her bunny, eyes fluttering closed. And Marcus sat there long after she fell asleep, staring at the little girl who had followed him with 3 broken crayons and no voice. and somehow taught him how to live again. My safe man. The rain came suddenly. It wasn't a storm, just one of those quiet, gray drizzles that made the world feel hushed. Drops pattered softly on the kitchen window as Officer Marcus Bell stood motionless, hands gripping the edge of the sink, staring out into nothing. Behind him, Asha hummed. The tune was unfamiliar, a made-up song with no lyrics, but it filled the silence like sunlight cutting through fog. She sat on the living room floor, her tiny legs crossed beneath her, crayons scattered around her in a colorful circle. Her bunny sat beside her, now clean and fluffy again, watching with its one surviving eye. Marcus had never seen her so peaceful, and it scared the hell out of him. Because any moment now, it could all be taken away. The phone call. The call came at 8:02 a.m. Marcus answered on the second ring, already knowing who it would be. Officer Bell, it's Carla Monroe from Child Welfare Services. Her voice was flat, businesslike, but softer than usual. I have an update. About Danielle. He turned away from Asha, keeping his voice low. Go ahead. Carla hesitated for a beat. She woke up, briefly, long enough to confirm her identity and mutter a few things before falling unconscious again. She's back in ITU. Marcus pressed the phone tighter. Is she going to recover? The doctors say it's unlikely she'll regain full cognitive function. Best case, long-term rehab. Worst case, permanent care. His heart sank. And Asha. Carla cleared her throat. That's why I'm calling. We've located a biological relative. A great-aunt, Clarine Johnson. She lives in Jacksonville, Florida. Retired. She's willing to take custody. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. Marcus turned back toward the living room. Asha had just finished her drawing and was now using a glue stick to press a heart onto the corner of the page. It was lopsided. Uneven. Perfect. She doesn't even know her, Marcus whispered. She's family, Officer Bell. She followed me, he said, voice rising. She came to me. I know, Carla said gently, and I believe you've done a beautiful job caring for her, but blood matters. And legally, Marcus's voice dropped to a broken whisper. She calls me Daddy. Carla didn't answer for a long moment. Then, you can fight it. If you want. File for permanent guardianship, but it won't be easy. Marcus felt like the floor beneath him had cracked. When? He asked. Miss Johnson arrives in 3 days. We're scheduled to transition custody then. The promise. He didn't tell Asha that night. He couldn't. Not as she stood on her little step stool in the kitchen, proudly pouring her own milk into a cereal bowl. Not when she asked if they could plant a flower in the backyard so Mommy has something to see when she gets better. Not when she drew a new picture for the refrigerator, a house with 3 windows, a red door, and 3 stick figures smiling under a blue sky. She pointed. That's me. That's you. And that's my mommy when she comes home. Marcus's chest tightened. She looks happy, he said softly. Asha nodded. Because you're there. That night, after he tucked her into bed and kissed her forehead, she opened her eyes and said quietly, You don't leave, okay? He swallowed hard. I won't. She stared up at him, trusting. Promise. His voice cracked. I promise. The fight. The next morning, Marcus sat at his desk at the precinct. Papers were spread in front of him. Foster care application, guardianship forms, background check releases, home inspection notices. He hadn't touched any of them yet. Officer Jenny leaned against the doorway. Everything okay, Bell? He looked up. His eyes were glassy. I need a lawyer. She raised an eyebrow. Custody case, she guessed. He nodded slowly. Jenny exhaled. Bell, this is huge. I know. She hesitated, then stepped inside and placed a small envelope on the desk. My sister's an adoption attorney. She's helped a lot of people. Tell her I sent you. Marcus looked at the name written in blue ink. Thanks. Is this about the little girl? He nodded. Jenny's voice softened. I saw the way she looked at you yesterday. Like you hung the moon. He smiled faintly. She did the same to a crayon drawing last night. Same moon. Same smile. Well, Jenny said, seems like it's your turn to fight. The paper bunny's secret. That afternoon, Marcus found Asha folding paper again at the kitchen table. She was quiet. Focused. What are you working on, baby girl? He asked, peeking over her shoulder. She didn't look up. Another bunny, she said. But this one's for my real daddy. Marcus froze. He lowered himself slowly to the chair across from her. Your real daddy? Asha nodded. Her hands were shaking now, fingers pressing the folds a little too tight. Do you remember him? Marcus asked gently. She was quiet for a long time. Then, he wore blue too. Marcus's heart skipped. Like my uniform. She nodded. But not a cop. He worked at the place with the airplanes. Said I was his wing baby. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Did he go away? He asked. She nodded again, eyes glassy. Mommy said he didn't want us no more. But I think she lied. I think she was sad and scared, and didn't know what to do. Marcus leaned forward. Do you know his name? Asha paused, then pulled a crumpled photo from her bunny's sewn-on pocket. It showed a man in a blue jumpsuit, smiling beside a small jet, his arm around a young woman, Danielle. In front of them, a toddler with a familiar face. On the back, in faded marker, to my wing girls, love always DH. Marcus flipped the photo, staring hard. His hands began to tremble, because he knew that man. He'd trained with him. At the airbase. Years ago. Daryl Henderson. Gone missing after a training accident 5 years back. Never heard from again. And now, his daughter had followed Marcus like a ghost guided her. Why me? He whispered aloud. Asha looked up. Because your eyes are sad like his were, but your hugs are warmer. The decision. The next morning, Marcus stood outside the courthouse, paperwork in hand. He hadn't slept, had barely eaten, but he was clear. This wasn't just about what Asha wanted. This was about what she deserved. He filed the documents, paid the fees, scheduled the home study, and walked back out into the gray morning knowing this wasn't going to be easy, but it would be worth it. The goodbye that never happened. On the third day, a knock came at the door. Asha was playing with stickers in the living room. Marcus opened the door slowly, heart in his throat. There stood an older woman, tall, thin, with gray braids and a suitcase in one hand. Officer Bell, she asked. He nodded. I'm Clarine, Danielle's aunt. She stepped inside, looked around, then saw Asha. The little girl stood frozen, her eyes wide. Clarine crouched gently. Hi, baby. I'm Auntie Clarine. Your mama used to visit me when she was little too. Asha didn't move, didn't speak, just stepped back until her back touched Marcus's leg. Clarine's smile faltered. Marcus cleared his throat. Ma'am, before we move forward, I want you to see this. He handed her the drawing, the one Asha made. The 3 figures, the red door, the heart. My safe man, it read. Clarine stared at it for a long time, then looked down at Asha. Do you want to come with me, sweet pea? Asha shook her head slowly. Clarine nodded once, eyes full of something deep and kind. I figured, she's found her roots here. Then she stood, and gently handed the paperwork back to Marcus. Fight for her, she said. You're the only home she knows. Final scene, the last drawing. A week later, the court date is set. The paperwork's moving. And Asha is still in Marcus's house, still humming, still folding paper. That morning, she hands him a new drawing. It shows the same 3 figures. But this time, the man in blue is holding both hands, hers and Danielle's. And beneath it In shaky letters, "My forever man." Marcus's throat tightens. He lifts her up into his arms and holds her close. "You think we can handle forever," he whispers. She leans into him. "We already are."